We've been off for a couple of weeks, and this week we're going to talk about this past year, looking back at 2020. A lot of people said it was a bad year, but that really wasn't the case for us. Well, pretty much this time of year last year, I moved into this space professionally, which kind of marked, I had started a podcast and started creating content as kind of a passion project. And then moving in here represented, now I can do this professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a year in here. And yeah, I do it professionally now. Like, that's pretty crazy to me. This is how I earn a living.
Yeah. I remember when you thought that this was just like, maybe this could be a possibility. And now it's a reality.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
It is.
Have you had anything like that where you're like, this was something fun, but then, wow, actually, I'm actually earning money doing this?
Yeah, I think I had that about wedding planning, for sure. And it was something that I felt like I got an itch for when pretty much conveniently we're at the time that we were planning our wedding, and had been growing the weddings business at Eureka as well. And feeling like, I think this is something that I want to do. I think I would, I know that I can do this, having many years of varying events under my belt and stuff. But sort of just needing to just kind of just get those yayas out on something that I know that I could bite off and then see if I had it in me to swim. And I did. And I just built on, it's funny when you kind of spent a couple years investing in something, you kind of look back at the first thing you did and you go, oh, wow, why was I so nervous? But I think it's always a huge come up for, personal growth when you think to yourself, this is something that I think I want to do, but then you actually do it and you follow through on committing to it and making a decision this is something that I'm committed to doing and I'm going to try. And if I fail, I'm just going to try a new approach. And, a couple years later, I did 20 plus weddings and had really happy clients and beautiful work to show for it. It was really empowering. And so do you. You have these beautiful stories and impactful messages and things that, one day you just say, you know what, I'm just going to press play or more like hit record on my thoughts and see what happens and look at everything that's followed. But we also have to, give credit where credit is due and thank God for that intuition to try as well. But yeah, I remember when you moved in here too, and I remember we went to Home Depot and you got the paint and the wallpaper and the rug, and it was like, okay, here we go. And then now, lots of all the quotes on the walls and signatures and happy clients, and it's really exciting, and I'm really proud of you. Really, truly. Was that me or you?
Did you hear that?
I did. Was that you?
I don't know. My tummy grumbled a little bit.
What else looking back on 2020?
Well, a lot of people say it was a bad year because of the coronavirus, because of protests around the country, because of economic shutdowns, because of being forced to stay at home.
It's sort of funny now when I think of that, being forced to stay at home. And it was funny if it was at the beginning, it was so hard, but now it's really easy, I guess. I see so much more benefit from being in than I do from being out in some aspects. Getting to just focus on our family and nurture our home life feels like so natural, but also it was also really uncomfortable at first because I think I'd like not spent as much time. I hadn't spent really that much time on it. You know, it was like, is it clean? Is there food in the fridge? Sweet. But not really thinking of our house as, I don't know, like as an environment that requires prioritization in your life. You know, it's like we feel like us millennials, like we want it to look good on Instagram, you know, and we care relatively about what we put in our bodies and what food we keep in the fridge. But how does our home feel, you know? And I think this became a year that people started to prioritize that. You know, they cleared space so that they could get work done. But then they also started to take inventory of like, what's in my house that's making me stressed? And everybody started doing home projects and started doing things that they had neglected. And I would argue that the people who sort of leaned into it are now finding comfort in it more than they have in the past. And I totally get that there's a lot of isolation and other things that come with it. But at the same time, like these are our homes. Like, what is even home for us? You know?
Yeah, I think a lot of us didn't spend any time at home before. And so, okay, we spent more time at home, right? We spent more time together. And I felt like when March hit, it was a series of kind of like miracles in our life that just started to, show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me not to just talk about a business context right now, but I mean, I really want to focus on family life and what that was like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was scary because I figure, if I go outside, am I going to bring back this deadly disease into my home? And do I need to scrub myself outside and like sleep in the garage?
Oh dear.
Because none of us knew what to expect, what was going to happen.
No.
All of a sudden we can't go to church. All of a sudden we're afraid in the grocery line. I remember that first grocery trip where we panic bought.
Yeah, we fell into it. I mean, I don't think we went crazy, but I remember seeing that pasta aisle, that pasta and rice aisle. I was
empty. When's the last time we saw that as a country, as a nation? But at home, your mom came to stay with us, and she stayed for several months, right?
I think it was about 5 weeks.
And
yeah, it felt
we had a child, and we delivered, and I was the only guest that was allowed to be there. But that was also kind of like awesome because we didn't have these distractions, and we were able to be there and be fully present, you and me, without a bunch of family kind of getting in the way.
Oh, yeah.
Not that they would have gotten in the way, but getting in the way.
Yeah.
In the summer, we did a virtual Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event in our living room.
Yeah.
Our baby was there. Our dogs were there.
Yeah. I'm so glad we did that, by the way. And it was funny because I was having a hard time with it at the very beginning because it was just while being on maternity leave, that level of mental focus was so hard. But I'm so glad that I didn't give up and didn't quit. They talk about playful out. I was really happy that I didn't stop it, and that we finished the whole weekend because I think it did so much I know it always does something for you, but it had been a long time since I had done it. So it did a lot for me.
Maybe I don't understand what, maybe I'm not getting what happened for you or what that was all about.
Yeah. I mean, I think it helped extract, internal things that I had cognitive dissonance on, and it helped me get clarity on what I was going to do and how I was going to act on it. and then what ultimately was the end goal of what I was trying to convert my life into. You know, it really had been the first time in, oh gosh, probably since I was, I don't know, before my like high school. I mean, the middle of early high school, where I really had like a few months to just stop. And like it had started obviously all the way back, you know, in 2019 in some aspects by getting pregnant and ramping down weddings, and then you couldn't do weddings and not going to the office every day, and like it's started in micro levels, but that was like the real big dose of, you know, 4+ months of being able just to really sit, and then to have a life-changing formative experience in the middle of that was just like the sole focus was just to think about where was I at in my life and where did I want to go, you know, and what did I want for our marriage, you know, and starting to carve out like what is a joint path for the both of us doing something together look like, and what does more intimacy look like in our relationship. And we uncovered like fears that we had about like just loving each other and like being with each other, and what that kind of closeness, and like
there was no more hiding for me.
Right. Yeah.
It was like there's no more, you know, a lot of those activities, a lot of the to-do items and driving here and there and everywhere, and oh, I'm late to my appointment, and I'm going to go meet this person for coffee, or how much of that was a distraction?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would argue for me it was huge.
I would like 90% distraction for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like we spend, you know, it's funny, people always get upset or find that it's hard to adjust to life with a baby because it's like there's quote unquote less time for you and your partner. But I would actually argue that we're getting more time with each other now than we did before we had a baby. Maybe.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Because we can now, we like look forward to that time together. Like we crave that time versus like it being out of obligation, maybe, or like we should go do something together today.
So for our podcast listeners, this is the Deckers podcast, a family podcast, and we're sharing topics related to marriage. We're sharing topics related to being entrepreneurs, family business, what it's like being parents, what it's like being Christians, what it's like living in California, I guess. Sobriety.
Yeah.
Not drinking.
Not doing a lot of things.
So
in the good way.
There used to be a big TV behind here in the space. For those that are listening, you check us out on YouTube. You know, you can actually watch us having this conversation in case you're into that kind of thing. But I used to have a really big TV here, and I'm kind of realizing that the TV should maybe be directly behind you there, so that someone doing a virtual could be sitting here looking at them. I'm not sure. I will figure it out.
We're probably going to lean into the full multicam experience. Could see lots of POV options.
So if you're on YouTube, you're seeing one angle.
Yeah.
But if what we can do is have a camera there, have a camera there,
yep,
and then you switch
POVs.
It requires either someone like me that can do a switcher in real time while we're talking, or having someone here. But I'm really excited to set that up. I love messing and I just love the tactile nature of all this.
I think it's also something that like you kind of instinctually start to want to do as a human in the beginning of a new year. Like right now I'm itching to like weed out our closet, you know, and our drawers, and like get rid of stuff that we haven't worn in the last calendar year, you know, and donate it, because it's like you start to it starts off with, oh, that new thing, and oh, that pair of shoes, and oh, I picked up this thing for you, and oh, that, and next thing you know, it's like, why is there no space? Why is everything disorganized? What happened? I was nesting in March. Now it's like, what's something that, like, if you had to pick one thing that you were really proud of yourself for doing in 2020, what would it be?
Starting a daily morning routine habit ritual thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Waking up at a consistent time, having a whole practice in the morning, every day, without exception. I have a friend that I do this with, and even if we're on vacation, it's like, no, still get up at the same time, do the routine, even if it's over a phone call.
Different time zone, doesn't matter.
Which is like a prayer, then exercise, and then a meditation and another prayer. Just every day. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy routine. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Longer on the weekends if I can. Just depending upon the activity. That's the thing I'm most proud of. What about you?
Conquering my fear of financial intimacy with you.
What does that look like?
Conquering my fear. I'm just kidding. Learning how to communicate about finance, like just the art of walking through making decisions together, saying, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we've got coming down the pipeline. How do we want to do this? Where is it coming from? Praying about it, talking about it. And like by talking about it, like removing the fear behind it. I had, it's like we existed in financial silos for so long, and I don't even know how we did it. Like, we were married and sharing a residence, and like, I didn't know where I didn't know what your bank account balance was. I didn't know where your money came from. Like, you didn't even know how much money I made. Like, it's just so wild. And then now it's like we're getting so close to like just like merging everything, and it's feels so good. And I literally I had no idea how we were going to do this. And I think this has been like a really big thing for me for like to get over. Yeah, I think that's like the big one, honestly, at least in terms of our marriage, for sure. But I think because fear has just been such a grip, like it's had such a grip on my life for so long, that like getting over this area of fear is like, whew. It's like if I can get through that, then like I feel pretty unstoppable in like our ability to conquer hard things together right now. And if you are in a similar place, some people, money comes really naturally to them. They're naturally frugal. They naturally know how to budget. They naturally have an interest in that. Like, I've a couple girlfriends who just like, it's like fish to water, no problem, and then there's others where it's not, I think sometimes, it is a learned skill, but it's also easier for some than others. I look forward to 2021 where we set, goals, and we're planning and we're making plans, and like that stuff is really exciting. It feels empowering. I used to get empowered just from like going to the gym, but to have the intimacy in your relationship be the thing that's driving you and empowering you and wanting you to be better, like that's the good stuff. And
so we're recording this on January 2nd.
Yeah.
Probably come out this week.
Yeah, I think so.
It's really tempting to want to just do like a whole timeline of the year.
You mean of 2020 or for 2021?
I think what's been nice has been in 2020. I think what's been nice has been going to outdoor services. You kind of feel rebellious. But we were a little rebellious, I guess, when it came to churches. Like, we went to a church in Sun Valley, like in the middle of when all this was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this pastor, what was his name?
John MacArthur.
John MacArthur. And you have this gigantic gathering, and just hearing music again amongst people and hearing other people singing.
That was so beautiful.
It was worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know it was risky.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
World. But it was worth it.
It was a risk worth taking at the time. Because I think it was that moment where people realized that this is something that they had to stand up for. And that if we didn't, the end of the year would have looked a lot different, in my opinion. And I think they realized that they're like, okay, like these people are willing to really risk a lot to do this. And then I think the state, the leadership in the state realized that they needed to, I think they realized that like we could gather and we could do it safely, and that we were willing to cooperate, but they needed to meet us at the table in order to do that. And I think there's been some incredible movements that have come out of this. And, we had talked in our first episode about, understanding that, church, why were we going to church? And was it just the act of going to church, not the intention behind going, or that we didn't need to be in church to, I hear Luke coming down the hall with Grandma. We didn't need to like be in church to, find God. But I feel, I was talking to someone close to me on Christmas Eve about this. It was like, I know the risks. I'm being safe, but like, I want to, if I'm going to potentially, I want to die living. I don't want to be in my house living in fear over something I couldn't control anyway. Mm-hmm. And like the most important thing to us is worshiping and getting to that, like, and be congregating and seeing people and like sharing the good news with people. And yeah, like yes, I get it. There's so many mediums that you can share that, but there's something about gathering in the presence of God and friends and people and like crying out or singing out, like, and just like letting that moment hit you and like wash over you, and you get the goosebumps and you feel the Holy Spirit like touch your heart and receive. And it's like one of the top, I think it's like for me, it's like one of the top 3 feelings that I can feel like in ever. And getting to connect to that every week is so crucial for my mental health. And I'm so glad that we're doing it. And now we can. I mean, now it's like safe. Now it's like allowed, for us to gather outside, but it's January. It's not like it's not like it's not cold, or we're not like pushing up against the elements or anything. Like if it rains or whatever, I mean, that's uncomfortable. But, but like but there's so much to gain than something to lose by doing it.
There are other things this year too, like maintaining our Celebrate Recovery groups, like small groups. Like these are like Bible studies, independent ones. I started an in-person Bible study here at the studio, and then we went virtual, and somehow we've managed to be together for almost a year now. And then I continued in my normal groups, and we could, at first we did the Zoom thing, then we went in person and, finished it out. And then we started a new one at a new church that was, saying, oh, go ahead, you can use this place to hold the group. So that's been hugely important. And then this was the first year that I voted.
Yeah.
And then
That was a big one. I was so proud of you.
are we missing anything? I feel like
Becoming parents.
we don't let these major events, I don't feel like we've let all this sink in to us. We haven't let the negativity seep in.
No.
I just have no ill will toward the year or the memory. I mean,
No. I mean, I think I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, there were all these like infographics that were coming out. It was like there was like the fear zone and there was like the growth zone, and like, what are you going to do with it, And I think we chose to focus on what this opportunity, what this was bringing to us, and how could we grow through this, rather than like feeling like life was happening to us, And I mean, I think every day you have choices. Free will is just this beautiful, beautiful gift. And you can take that beautiful gift and you can choose to run with it down the rabbit hole of fear and shame and guilt and worry and anxiety and all these things. Or you can, and that's not to say that there are people with mental health right now that have been significantly impacted by this year. And my heart really, really, truly like breaks and goes out to them, and you're not alone at all. But you can also find revelation in taking and looking to like, okay, well, what is this trying to teach me? And like, what am I holding on to that I need to let go of? And I'm seeing so many posts about that right now. And it's really, really exciting, because I think that there's people who are finding like, I don't want to use the word revival, but like they've gone, okay, well, I made it. If I can do this, what else can I do? But I think 2021 is this year now where we've removed the expectations of what the year is. We feel that we're entitled to get in a new year. And now we're going, well, what am I going to do with this year? It doesn't matter what the year brings me. I got through that. So now what can I go do? And I think, while I think some people have maybe readjusted their expectations, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. Removing expectations of people and experiences is probably just the biggest gift, because then you can be a perpetual optimist instead of a pessimist. I'm speaking to myself a little bit here, because I've always been a hole poker, and I'm really trying to finally not be one. It's kind of fun, actually.
We're about out of time for today.
Any closing thoughts? I'll let you do the close this time, because I always carry on too long.
I think this episode had a bit of a slower pace. You can tell that we've been on vacation.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're not stressed out and talking a million miles a second. So enjoy that while it lasts, audience.
I think
it's about to start picking up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're also usually like worried about like, is Luke gonna melt down before we can finish? I think today we're kind of like melting into our chairs, because we actually have like a break, because he's like fed and asleep and all those good things. So anyway,
I think we're going to end it there. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.